I'm joined by Gendo's CEO, George Proud, and Head of Applied AI, Ismail Senet, who will explore how AI is being used across architecture and planning today, where current tools fall short, and what the future of AI-assisted planning communication could look like. Today, you will learn new skills for creating more persuasive planning visuals and communicating design intent more effectively across pre-application and committee stages. You can also submit them with your planning applications as well, which is great. Practical examples from architecture studios already using AI to strengthen visualization, stakeholder engagement, and planning submissions. Alongside a live demo of Gendo in action, you will gain a clearer understanding of the AI landscape, learn practical ways on how to integrate AI into your own workflows, and walk through the new skills for creating more persuasive planning visuals and communicating design intent more effectively. As part of today's webinar, you'll also receive an exclusive Gendo offer available only to webinar participants. So as you have agreed to your personal data being shared with partners, that is Gendo and TerraQuest for the purposes of organizing and managing the event, as well as for follow-up communications related to the session and receiving your exclusive Gendo offer. I'll now hand over to George and Ismail for an introduction to Gendo and a demonstration of practical ways for using it with your planning and designs. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. I'll introduce myself properly in a second and let Ismail introduce himself too. But I'll also mention that Joe is in the chat watching, another member of our team. So please do fire away any questions as we're going. Either we'll try and handle it as we're going, or Joe will respond in the chat as well. I'm George, as Scott says, a co-founder of Gendo. My background is in architecture, so studied here in London and worked in a few studios doing mostly residential projects from individual family homes up to expansion of Cambridge. I've worked on a variety of projects at a variety of scales, but enjoyed the more technical aspects, so did more and more visualization in the traditional sense, using more typical software like 3ds Max and V-Ray and Unreal Engine and Enscape. All of those sort of things pre-AI. But back in 2022, when that first version of ChatGPT really kicked off, my co-founder Will, who's a computer scientist by a training, thought that this would be an awesome technology if productized and trained for the architecture workflow. So that's why we've built Gendo, to try and help with lots of these processes which are pointlessly technical and introduce friction in that process of delivering buildings and empowering you to do the job better, faster, smarter, but crucially you still in control with all of those things. I'll introduce Gendo properly in a second, but I'll pause there and pass to Ismail.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ismail. Like George, I'm an architect also by training. So I studied architecture in Cairo, where I grew up, and I worked there for a bit. Then I moved to Milan to do my master's and worked there for 5 years before coming to the UK in 2023, where I worked at Foster & Partners, also ranging from like small projects to huge mega projects. I joined Gendo a couple of months ago, last February actually, and this was because I have been really playing with and like experimenting with all the AI tools that have been coming out over the past 3 years, particularly trying to make them useful for us in practice. So I was really interested in like the practicality of AI tools for architects and designers, and this is exactly why I joined Gendo, because we have the same vision. So yeah, I'm excited to show you the platform today.
Amazing, thank you. Well, yeah, an interesting response to the poll so far, that 15% have not used AI at all yet, 47% experimenting occasionally, and 36% using AI regularly. AI is obviously a big term that encompasses a few things now, but yeah, we'll dive sort of deeper into Gendo. So if I maybe share my screen. So as we've said, Ismail and I and a few members of our team architecture backgrounds, and we are constantly aware that AI should be something that is actually professionally useful and not sort of gimmicky and snake oil for actual processes. So we spend a lot of our time talking to users on the platform and practices to make sure that we never sort of lose that thread and that we're constantly critical of what we're doing. So today we'll show you what we're up to and also show you some actual planning applications that have got Jendo generated assets in them to show you that it is a real tangible thing that people are doing in practice now. And then, yeah, Ismail will take us through the platform to show you what that looks like in terms of, actually doing these things and how to handle it. So if I get to my next slide. The problem that we're trying to solve, you of course will all be familiar with this, but design communication is the issue really. Images are one way in which people manage that, but we spend a lot of time writing emails, doing drawings, producing pictures to get alignment with stakeholders, colleagues, bosses, planning authorities, whatever it may be, to understand, what the proposal is, how that will actually be, and sort of arrive at a logical conclusion. And, big firms can afford visualization historically, which is, wildly expensive, up to 10 grand for one image, depending on who you ask. And all of this separate software stack and hardware stack used to deliver it. And that's just not a tangible reality for most architects doing real work on smaller projects. Whereas this sort of AI is now a democratizing force where it is much more accessible and allows people to communicate much faster and more clearly and get that alignment much faster, skipping these iteration cycles and miscommunications in the process. So, we focus on that sort of problem space, which is why the platform is how it is, which is a browser-based platform where you don't need to have a special bit of hardware. It can run on most things just in the browser. You don't need to install anything either. You can just sign up and use it, also for free if you just want to try. There's unlimited free access with some watermarks and things. It's multiplayer, so you and your colleagues can be in the same space working on one project simultaneously, getting through those iterations and decisions, labeling, marking up, and leaving sticky notes for each other, and all about design process and iteration, not about image production. It's not just a render function, it's about decision capture and delivery. So it's a canvas that you can pan around, you can organize, and you can structure to have all of these different assets. It doesn't matter what software you're using at the moment, is agnostic of the kind of inputs, as you'll see. All we really need is an input image that has your intent in, your design, and we assume a perspective image, and that could just be a hand sketch, a screenshot from CAD, a photograph of a physical model, whatever it is that you have that has your design in, which we will then take and run with and keep consistent through all of these variations of your images, which is something that AI struggles with. As I said, it's unlimited. There's no credits in this. We find that sort of stunts the process. So you can generate as many times as you like, and it's all about working collaboratively in that process. So, again, to talk about the problem, image production can take a very long time, 2 to 3 weeks. It can be very expensive, and then getting people to understand what you're up to is difficult. And we already have users who are sort of cancelling other software subscriptions that they have to manage this sort of process and using Jendo to replace that. So hopefully cost effective as well for you. Interestingly, one of our users is now selling the images they make. It is a line item on their invoice saying that you have got images as part of your design process. So they are profiting off of a Jendo subscription, which is awesome to see. And that people are using it for that actual professional context. Origin Design Studio is a small studio in the north of England, and I'll show you one of their planning applications where they use Jendo images on their project. So we'll talk about that in a little more detail. There are lots of AI models out there now. Any of you who have tried will know that it's an increasingly explosive number. When we started Jendo back in 2022, there was maybe 3 to choose from. If you look at any of these repositories now, there are sort of 5,000 models that you could be using for any given moment. So the way we handle it is that we test all these things. I mean, Ismail particularly tests all these things and finds the sort of architecturally relevant use cases, and then we train them further to be fit for purpose for those functions, and then we include them in sort of design-oriented features. So you as users are not selecting models and building data pipelines. You're making design choices with architecturally specified software features so that you can, keep in the design frame of mind and not worry about the AI of it all. And therefore, it is better than the sort of off-the-shelf models like Gemini, like ChatGPT, because we have trained it on the architecture use case, vocabulary, and knowing the outcomes that you as practitioners need to see. So it is more performant. And yeah, recently named Architize as #1 tool for design iteration, which is very exciting for us. Just some stats on the platform to show you that, we've been working hard with lots of studios to some success. We generated 1.2 million images in the last month. We have, I think, nearly 200,000 users on the platform now, thousands every day using it, the majority of whom are in architecture, but we have some immediately adjacent architecture use cases like interior design, landscape architecture too, all of whom have the same problem of consistency with design and specificity and control when communicating their projects. The subject matter obviously deviating slightly, but that Venn diagram of interior design and architecture is broadly overlapping, and landscape architecture too. So great to see a broad amount of use, and this is across design stages as well. So AI is good at concept images. You can get a pretty picture quickly, but people use Gendo all the way up to planning applications where the design is set, specific, and needs to be representative of what you will actually build. It can't have the AI nonsense in there. And again, that's what we've sort of tailored the platform for. So we have all stages from 0 to 4 of ReBuWorks stages being done on the platform. Yes, as I said, 200,000 users now. The slide is old. Global user base, so in 186 countries now. Greenland and North Korea missing still, but we'll get there one day. And we have a range of studios from, sort of one-man bands all the way up to very large practices as well, but design teams within them working on the platform. And we've recently integrated Material Bank, which Ismail, I'm sure, will flash up quickly, so that you can reference real-world products, not just magical AI nonsense, but actual things that you could build a building with. And, we think this is important. Everything is grounded in practice. So you don't have to go hunting through the internet to find these things. It's all to hand. This is another studio, a bigger studio in Italy that use images a lot. And we have a variety of tools, one of which is to enhance an image that you already may have put some texture and lighting into to just give it that photorealistic finish, one that they use a lot with Enscape. So again, a use case that Ismail can show us. And yes, just to hammer the point, there are no credits. There's nothing slowing you down here. You can do as much as you want and get to the right answer that you're looking for. So please do log in and have a crack. You can also work alongside while we're talking too. So yes, thank you for listening. I'm going to just leave this up for a second. You're going to get this code, I believe, in a follow-up email as well. So take note, but it will also be sent to you with 20% off for an annual subscription if you'd like one. But as I said, it is free to sign up and try it. So you can just have a go and not put in your credit card details. So please do that too. What I'm going to show you before handing over to Ismail is a couple of actual planning applications of, as I said, real projects. So the first one is Origin Design Studio and their design and access statement that they submitted. This now has approval, this project. And what was interesting about this particular one, if I maybe jump to a couple of pages that have Gendo imagery in, here they've put in their early facade studies for this project using Gendo to render these images. And then they've also got, this was sort of their input, a 3D model with some textures applied. So that's what they sort of produced in-house. But they then used that to make a more detailed and realistic. We've improved our models since then as well. So this is an older application, but I think important to show you a real world thing and also to talk about the impact of these images. The Origin Design Studio told us that this was a contentious project, that they had been in a few meetings with their planning officer and having to go back, make changes, come back a few weeks later to have that conversation. They've done that 2 or 3 times already. And in this final conversation, they had showed them these images as part of it, and that was helping get the understanding and the alignment with the planning officer. but it was only when they sat down with the planning officer in the room on Gendo and made some changes live, and they said, okay, well, we want to make these changes to the material finish of the facade. What would that look like? Rather than spending 2 weeks going away to redo those drawings, to redo those images, they just hopped on the platform, regenerated it in the room, and got approval there and then. So they saved themselves a huge amount of time just by iterating and using the platform in the room, which was super awesome use case for us to hear. Another older application now is a house in Somerset where they had done some, here we go, concept materials. 2 applications. This first one is not available. Let's try a different. Just this one. Sorry, this was loading earlier. Well, that's very helpful. Okay, we won't look at this one, but essentially similar story. They had their applications, they had a perspective view of the building in context and had generated the materiality, the lighting, but the planning officer said that they didn't like the skylight, the window in the roof, so they had to regenerate that image, making that very specific and controlled change to the image, and then resubmitted it, which then again got them planning application, and everyone knew exactly what they were approving. So another example of this being, a tangible thing in building delivery, not just pretty pictures at the beginning of a project, but something that had impact on the process and the success of this planning application. I'll pause there and maybe hand over to Ismail, who will take us through the actual platform.
Yeah, thank you, George. Yeah, it's time to jump into the platform and do a quick demo. I'm planning to do everything live with you guys. I have some prepared assets, but it's always nice to try things live. So before I start, also, George, Scott, Kate, please interrupt me if there are any questions, or if you have any questions also. Sometimes I get so much into generating things. Please interrupt me at any time. So like George mentioned in the presentation, this is a browser-based platform. So I'm running it right now in Google Chrome. So you don't need super powerful computers to be able to run it. It's just a link where you can open the canvas, which is quite a simple open canvas where you can start putting your assets. While we're building it, we're thinking about architects and designers, and this is basically an infinite sort of canvas where you can start placing your ideas. And it works similarly to the way architects do their reviews, sort of like the pin-up boards that you would have to pin up your ideas and review them. So before I start generating and adding assets onto this canvas, I want to go really quickly through the toolbars here. So we have some tools that I will be going through down there that are related to navigation, markup, materials, and some functions. And you have an upload image button down there. The platform deals with any sort of images. So we cover most of the file formats of images from PNG, JPEG, WebP, all of these. So practically anything that you can view on your screen and take a screenshot of, it can be hosted on this canvas. And then you have Gendo Assistant, which I will be covering right now in a couple of minutes. You have a history panel that shows you everything that you have been generating inside this project. And up here, you have the name of the project. And on the upper right-hand side, you have a couple of options to share the board. So as George mentioned in the presentation as well, this is a collaborative canvas. So teams can work together inside this unified space that gets updated live. So it's a live update. And as you can see, George is already in this board. Yeah, hello, George. And then I want to cover also the share button because I always forget to cover it. This board is shareable through just one link, and anyone with the link will be able to view it. You don't need to you don't need to sign up or anything. You will be able to view this, and as you can see, George is saying hi on the board right now. So very simple introduction. You don't, as George mentioned, also you don't think about there's nothing about credits or thinking about AI models or understanding any technicalities about how AI works, it's pretty simple in the way it's set up. There are three ways basically you can add an image. So there's an upload image. You can also drag and drop an image from a folder, or you can copy and paste it into the canvas. So I'm just going to drag and drop an image that I have inside the canvas. As you can see, it's loading now. So this is a very speculative image that I made. This is not a real place or anything, but it's just a Google Street View, let's say, of a place where I added like a sketch, sort of tracing paper sketch on top of the empty plot that I have here. And I want to start iterating on that, basically. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Gendo assistant. If I select the image, we have some contextual functions that I will be going through later on, but I want to start simple. So the Gendo assistant basically is an AI assistant that will be helping you throughout the Gendo interface, but also helping you with like design ideas. So usually when you start these projects, you don't have like a super clear idea about what you want to do. You don't know exactly like what to prompt, which function to use. You just have some design ideas that you want to try out. So for example, in this sketch that I made on top of the Google Street View, I kind of like how the mask looks, but maybe I want to edit a bit the railing, which is kind of random right now. And I want to try like let's say a simple vertical sort of railing here. So instead of going back and sketching everything, I can try to do these sort of edits with the Gendo assistant. So I'm just going to drag and drop this image here inside the Gendo assistant that I opened. And before starting, I like to give it context. Yeah, give it context about what I'm trying to do here. So I will just tell it first thing that throughout this conversation, I want to only edit the sketched building while maintaining the sketch style. Yeah, I can see George is already generating some stuff on this board, which is great. So right now I'm just setting the context that basically will help me edit these railings before like jumping into design decisions. I'm just setting the scene for it. And right now, as you can see, it starts inspecting the image, so it starts understanding what this image is composed of, and it starts suggesting things for me already. So it says, yeah, I understand, but starts asking me what would I like to change about this sketch that I have here, and it gives me some options. Yeah, modify the height, change the pattern of the balconies, add or adjust. I'm not obliged to pick any of these, also because I didn't mention that. So I'm just going to say I want to change the design of the railings from glass to more vertically spaced railings. I find the Gendo assistant quite nice to deal with, also because obviously my English is not my mother tongue, so it's nice to just like type whatever ideas that I have in mind, and it will help me basically craft what to send to the AI model. So I'm just gonna hit enter and wait for it to give me some suggestions. So right away it understood my intent, so a vertical design, and then it starts asking me if this edit that I want to do to the image, is it in a selected area, or am I going to edit the entire image? This is an important question, because sometimes if for example I'm changing the time of day from day to night, this is an edit on the whole of the image. So I'm changing each and every pixel of the image, let's say. Whereas for this design task, I would say because I'm editing only a portion of the image, I'm going to go ahead and select the area. So the area is roughly, this needs to be quite rough. It's nothing like precise. It's roughly around this area. I think this covers most of the railings that I have. And I'm just going to click use the selected area. And then it's asking me a little bit more questions about like how the division of these vertical railings, are they closely spaced or wider or minimalist? I'm going to go with like closely spaced, but I'm going to hit edit also because you can edit these options. And I'm just going to add for it, just for the sake of it, to make sure they are compliant. Of course, the AI won't make them like 100% compliant, but at least while it's creating this spacing, it has an idea about like the range of spacing that it should be following. So right now, the assistant came up with a plan for me to generate. If I'm happy with this plan, which I think I am, I'm just going to hit generate. And right now it's going to go ahead and like create a task for me where it sends it to the AI model to generate, to do this edit that I did. So just to recap, up until this point, all I have been thinking about it were like my design ideas, my intentions, trying to communicate them quite well to the Gendo assistant. I started by just adding the image and setting the scene, let's say, like giving it the context of what I want to do, which is basically I just want to edit the sketch. Then I went ahead and told it my design intention without being too specific. Yeah, I was a little bit vague. It's done now, but let me continue with the recap. So I was vague about like my design intention. I said only vertically spaced railing. It came back to me with some suggestions. First of all, to select the only portion, the area where I want to edit, as well as how spaced do I want these railings to be. And I went ahead and I picked, as well as added some information for it to basically give me what the ideas that I have in mind. And as you can see, it edited all the railings to fit my intention while following also all the instructions that I give it. So this is, I think we're on a good start. I can go a little bit further adjusting this sketch, let's say, like trying out other design ideas, but just for the sake of the webinar today, maybe right now is the time to actually try to render it, to make it a little bit realistic. So since I'm done with this chat, I'm just going to reset it. I'm done with like the editing of the sketch. I'm going to reset this this chat. It's always good to reset it once you're done with like the task. And right now I want to basically render this to be a realistic building inside this context. I have also a material sort of sample of an idea of the materials that I want to use, just an image that I dragged and dropped as well. So for this task, I'm just going to drag and drop the generated image, the edited image, and tell it the new task that I wanted to do. So I want to render the sketched building to become realistic, following the lighting and atmosphere of the surroundings. Make sure you capture the design intent. Yeah, I mean, this could be anything you can. And then like the previous example, the Gendo assistant starts to inspect the image and tries to understand what's within it, also along with my request. So it tries to reason with my request. And it goes ahead and asks me to ensure that the final image matches my vision for the materials and quality. it asks me if I have like a reference image for that, and I actually do. So I'm just going to drag and drop this reference image in and tell it use these materials. Make sure to use, for example, the green fluted material as the material for railings, for example, just because we're doing railings right now. And then I'm gonna send this over. I think George already like finished the project down there. I can see him generating so many things, but I'm trying to take it step by step here. If you have any questions also up until this point, please do interrupt me. And as you can see right now, I think it's going, yeah, it's following up a little bit with some questions. What color or material should the main skeletal frame of the building be? Yeah. So
a question for you, Ismail, just while that's generating. You've got
yeah.
a great like image of abstract material palette there to apply to, but what are the other kinds of reference images that might work well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So any sort of reference image of buildings as well. So the AI model will be able to extract materials and atmosphere from it and apply it to your design. So it doesn't necessarily need to be like a material palette. It could be any sort of design reference of buildings, even like things unrelated to buildings as well. So if the reference image you want to basically mimic its lighting or atmosphere or photography style, and it doesn't have any buildings in it, this also works. Yeah. I'm just gonna hit generate. Should have hit generate before I answered the question, but right now I'm hoping it follows the design intent while adding these materials. We will wait and see. I'm intrigued to see what George has been making. Oh my God, wow. So yeah,
Shall I?
maybe George, you can walk through what you did.
Yeah. So I did a couple of things. I had an idea in my head about the kind of building I wanted to see, but I didn't have a reference image. So I described what I wanted to get something close to what I was imagining to be my reference. So I used there we go. I used the text to image tool, which is just to describe something, which is great for those sort of early concept images, but it's very hard to prompt a whole building, right? So what I wanted was medium density block of flats with a gradient finish facade, essentially. So was pleased with that outcome. Then took one of Ismail's inputs here. Instead of a sketch, it's a screenshot of a CAD model taken from Rhino, I think in this case, and then used the reference image and the same prompt again to generate the next image. Hopefully it's clear that the architecture is consistent. All of the openings, the details are correct and reliable with the input. And you can, yeah, as Ismail showing, you can compare those in the preview of the images. So we give two options because AI is always a bit random and one of them will be preferred. So I preferred that one. So I added that to my canvas. And then I wanted to see some life, some activity in there. So I added some people. So a few people on the balcony with their plants, some people walking past the building in front. So just adding that activation there in a sort of residential setting. And then I wanted an evening scene. So I asked it to use chat to change it into a night view with warm interior lighting and cool exterior lighting. And again, each step, the architecture remains the same, only the change sort of happening. Yeah.
Wonderful. This was extremely fast. I did not expect that.
Well, it's easy when you're not presenting.
Yeah. So yeah, back to our design. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
cool.
try to do something, but I don't like these X's. I don't like it kind of
Yeah.
created it based on this X, I think that is here.
Uh,
So that's not a problem. I mean, the whole idea of this is that it's an iterative process and it will suggest things for you that sometimes you will like and sometimes you won't like, which is a great way of showing this live because you will get like some ideas that maybe are not what you expected or not what you liked. So this is not a problem. I'm just going to select the image. I mean, I could continue also with chat because I have all the context and tell it I want to remove the X's. So maybe this is what we should do. I want to remove all the X timber frames added to the design. Let me iterate that, sorry.
So maybe while Ismail's generating that, chat is a really flexible feature, and as you're saying, very conversational. It uses our features for you, so it's asking these extended context questions and prompting Ismail to provide more context so that it can apply the specific changes you wanted. That also means it's more creative because it's interpreting what you're saying, to fill those features in, as we're seeing. Whereas those features in the sort of context bar are available for you to use directly which gives you another level of specificity and control. And we always assume the iterative design process that even if you did get the perfect image back, you would see something and think, oh, well, that's interesting. I want to try this out. That's not how I expected it to look, even if it was correct. So hence the sort of Canvas interface, so that you can keep track of all these decisions and experiments that you've tried as you're working.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, to recap what I did now, I told it that I want to remove these X timber frames, and it asked me if this edit was like a regional edit on the image or was it on the full image. And I told it, yeah, it's only in this portion. And I'm hoping it removes the things that I don't like and leaves only the vertical ones. Let's see. Right now it's editing it. And then after this step, what I want to do is, so it removed both actually, the X's and the vertical ones, which I think looks fine, looks better now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time also like trying to get the perfect architecture look. I'm just to show you also all the different use cases that we have and the different tools. So right now we've reached a point where it looks consistent with like the lighting and the atmosphere of the Google Street View, the screenshot, but I want to make it basically try to make it look a little bit more photographic. Yeah. So like what George generated down there. So when you select any image on the canvas, these contextual tools will appear for you. So these are image to image sort of tools that you can use. So you will use this image as an input to either render design, swap a material, edit it, populate it like what George showed down there, generate a style, or generate even an animation of this. So I'm going to start with the first tool right here, which is the render design, which can take any sort of design intent input, meaning I have some examples down there that maybe I can show you. The render design basically can take all sorts of inputs from a very conceptual sketch about your idea to a more precise one, to even a massing, a very simple massing, a more detailed one where you have like some little details, some layers with for different materials, applied textures, a CGI, yeah, or even like an elevation drawing. So all these inputs, the render design can take them as inputs. And what it tries to do, the render design function, is that it takes these inputs and tries to make them more realistic and photographic and like feel more of the space. So I'm going to also do a very simple prompt here. So when I press on render design, I'm greeted with this form that I need to fill, like a panel, sorry, that I need to fill. I have up here an image reference, which is optional. So either I have an image reference that I want to follow, like what George did down there. So use this reference, which made this nice gradient of the bricks. But for this task, what I want is actually just to make it feel a little bit more realistic. So I'm just going to say that while also removing these annotation, the Google Street Map annotation, hopefully it is able to do that. So remove all Google Street View annotations and render this let's call it transform this image into professional lecture design photography in London. I'm just going to give it also some context so that maybe the lighting choices could feel more contextual. Again, I'm not really worried about this render because it's very iterative, the process. So I just want to get something through and then I can take it from there, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to hit render design and it will give me two options of a hopefully much more photorealistic image of this design, while it's generating also, maybe George, you can tell us what you've been up to.
Yes, I just trying one of our new features where you can turn images into videos. So I've taken this evening shot and used our video tool to do a still. So I'm hoping to see that people will start to move around the scene, but the camera otherwise won't really move. And maybe Ismail worth flashing up the material catalog for a second too. Which, as I mentioned, is our partnership with Material Bank. So these are all real products, actual things you can specify. You can click and drag and add them to the canvas and use them as references for changing materials inside of the image specifically. You can also click through to Material Bank proper to then see the technical details of that material and the manufacturer. And if you are in an eligible country, which the UK is, you can order a free sample of that physical material and get it delivered in 24 hours. So as we say, really pleased with the partnership with them to ground this in actual, real world things. So excited to have all of their EU materials on the platform. So you can search by name or category or color. So again, design decision, but you can then get to the technical detail as well and the contact details of the rep for the manufacturers if you're interested. So excited to have that added that in the last few weeks too.
Yeah, it's really important that while you're iterating, because AI tends to make up materials a lot, is to be grounded in like real world materials, and this material catalog is such a good addition to making it like much more grounded, the design, and feasible actually. So let's see, the two images that are actually quite nice. I like this one more. Let's see. Yeah, this is also quite nice. It feels like London also with the overcast
Oh yeah, that's
sky.
nice. Yeah. I'm impressed they got rid of the Google stuff. That's nice.
Yeah, and as you can see, it tries to add much more realism. Yeah, so here this looks like a Google Street View sort of screenshot, while now we are jumping a little bit more towards like realism. So this is like we've reached a nice point. Right now, maybe what I was thinking is that we could maybe swap some materials. So we could use the material bank to maybe change the material of this down there to, I don't know, I mean, does anyone have any preference? George, maybe, do you have a favorite material that we can try? Corten steel, maybe?
Yeah, I love a bit of quartet steel. That's you can't go wrong. I mean, we're doing quite well on the muted tones there. Then,
Yeah?
okay, yeah, great. Yeah, nice. I didn't know they'd have that in there. Yeah, I mean, there's 13,000 materials on there, so I haven't looked at them all yet. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
All
nice.
right, let's try this material out. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select the image that I generated here, and then I'm going to hit the swap material. And the swap material allows us to select the surface that we want to basically change the material of and use a reference image where you can directly load the material catalog or just drag and drop it inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by selecting the surface. So as soon as I select, I can like zoom in and do the lasso selection basically. So I'm just gonna click 4 points Doesn't need to be perfectly aligned, but it should like follow the area that you want to change. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to drag and drop the reference image in, and then you have like a optional prompt to add. So if you just want to change the material without any prompts, right now we have enough information, but maybe for this example, I want to say swap materials while keeping the fluted geometry. Let's see. I'm gonna hit generate. And while it's generating, I think, yeah, your video is done, yeah?
Yes.
Let's see. So it's the still preset. I mean, I can go through the video a little bit more also. But as you can see, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Trees wafting, people walking, camera nice and still, so a good bit of activation and detail, but again, architecturally consistent. So yeah, nice. Pleased with that.
You can also expand the video to like have it like focused. And there's a really nice feature that maybe works also better with like some of the other presets that I can try, which is save frame to canvas. So let's say you generated a video and you like one of the frames, so you can stop wherever you want. And then you can save this frame as an image to the canvas. So right now it added this image to the canvas, and then I can start working with this frame in Gendo with all the functions that we have. I think my material is done. Let's see, Corten. Yeah, I can't really see it. Let me check. I think it's still loading.
Yeah, the internet's being a bit slow. Oh, there we go.
So that's some nice Corten down there. So this is very like it's very regional, let's say this edit. So it goes and edits only the surface that you have selected. If, for example, I want to change all the green areas, like the green material, let's say, into Corten steel, I have two ways to do this, either by going and actually selecting multiple things, so you can select one by one, yeah. Or for this task, I mean, it would take me ages to do that. So for this task, the Gendo Assistant or the full edit could work as well. So let me run it also through. And I'm going to go to the next function, which is the edit. And right now, this is similar to the one that we did with chat, but it's the one where you have the form itself, the panel. So the first thing it asks me is if I need to select an area. So this you need to just give it some context about the area you want to select. It's not as surface selection as what we did with the swap material. It's more of I'm giving the model context of the area that I want to change in the image. So you don't need to be precise at all with this. It's just like giving a rough context about the area that you want to edit, and then I'm going to describe what I want. So what I want is to swap all the green fluted material with the Corten steel material from the reference image. And then I will just drag and drop the reference again here. I think please, Scott and George, stop me if I'm taking too much time. Again, I get too much into little
No, I mean,
details.
if you hit generate, I can maybe round off as conscious of time.
Yeah.
And maybe zoom out a little. I mean, Ismail's done a great job of taking us through the features on the platform and focusing in on one particular use case. But I mean, we tried to show a variety of inputs so that you can use whatever it is you've got, which can be a napkin sketch or a developed 3D model or a photograph, whatever it is you have to hand that has your design in, and that you can then iterate through all of these tools architecturally focused to then arrive at an image that you are happy with, that helps you with your design and iteration process. So, referring back to our previous examples of the planning applications, obviously the outcome there has been the sort of image to arrive at a sort of final proposal, but it is as much about the journey and the iteration as it is that sort of final asset and outcome. So hopefully clear in this sort of canvas layout. We've got a couple more minutes for questions. I can see a couple in the chat to talk about price. So as I said, it is free to just sign up and have a go. So there's nothing stopping you from just trying it out with your projects, your actual assets, and see if it is possible to do what you want to do with it. Please also get in touch if you struggle. We are always interested to hear any feedback that you may have. As I said, it is unlimited, so you can generate as many images as you want. That means then that we have a seat-based pricing model, assuming that one seat is one person generating lots of images. So it starts at £79.99 a month, which gets you 5 seats of people. We're aware that there are some smaller practitioners that is maybe expensive for, and 5 seats is too many. We're thinking about how to best handle that. Hopefully you appreciate the unlimited setup is a difficult one for us to balance there. So please bear with us if that's not something you can handle at the moment. But as I said, you can use the free plan. So please do just have a go. Another question about 2D to 3D and 2D elevation plans and 3D out. So no 2D to 3D. Again, we assume you, the architect, you, the designer, are in control of that 3D asset and object, and that it's part of your CAD or production process to manage that. So we leave that with you. This is a sort of purely 2D to 2D thing. We are constantly testing and looking at models that do 3D. So we may do in the future. We're constantly keeping an eye on that. In terms of elevations, you can use elevations. I mean, some of those examples I showed you from Origin Design Studio were elevations as inputs. We typically assume a perspective view, so plans won't work unless what you want is a textured plan. But going from a plan to a 3D thing there's a lot that happens in the third dimension, so that is very tricky and hard to get to be accurate and consistent with your design. So again, we assume a sort of perspective view from that. So yes, another question which is very timely. Any deterioration in the images moving between the editing stages? So yes, this is a sort of fundamental tech problem. You will experience this using any of the model providers. Basically, if you edit on the same image multiple times, the image quality drops. This has been something we've been working on for a while, and Ismail has found a very nice solution for. So I think literally in the next couple of weeks, we'll be making a change to the platform, which means that you will be able to edit like many, many, many more times before you notice any degradation in the images. Typically, if you use the features directly, the degradation isn't as much of a problem because you're making very specific and controlled changes. Where you're using chat, you're regenerating the whole image and add some more of this sort of error and degradation in. So yes, Solve should be out in very short order.
Yeah, I mean, just adding to that, like using the box, like the edit selected also does not touch anything outside the selected area, so you won't like have any image degradation. As you can see, nothing happens here to what's outside the box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clicking through them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
right now, it's a way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I mean, last couple of minutes, so please do fire away any questions. But really appreciate you taking the time to listen to Ismail and I fire on, but maybe we can pass back over to Scott.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fascinating to see you guys run through it in that level of detail. I too have went on and had a little play around with it, and I think it's fascinating to see that visualization come to life from a 2D plan. So really interested, George, in what you said, speeding up the plan and application process and getting approval in the room. I'd be very shocked if anybody got that. So yeah, to see how you can, that reassurance, I suppose, in replicating an actual true life visual into that context. I know I did a development in a conservation area, and the questions you keep getting asked back: are you matching the materials? So be able to do that visually I think you get a much better representation. Does the free license have the same full features and functions as the kind of paid for? It just got a limited amount that I suppose that you can limited amount of projects.
So a couple of limitations, because the intention is that it's sort of a trial, right? That you can have a go and be confident that it is useful and is something that you can use before then sort of paying for it. Almost all the features are there for you to try. A couple are behind the paywall. Video is one, and also has a slightly separate setup because videos are very expensive to generate. And the text to image and the upscale and functions are also paywalled, but you should get 80%, of the features for the platform's full features with the free one. There is a limit of one project while you're experimenting. You do get 2 seats, so if you want to try out some of the collaborative stuff, you can do that too and invite a colleague in while you're working. So as I say, you should get a pretty good idea of whether or not it is actually useful before having to do anything else.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And we've had a couple of questions come up about can you share this recording afterwards? So yeah, just to reassure you, we will share the recording with each of you afterwards, and we'll also send through details of your exclusive offer so that you can go on and have a play around with it. I can see we're now at 3 o'clock, so I'd really like to thank George and Ismail for coming on and giving a kind of really thorough presentation, bringing the product to life, and I hope everybody that's joined today can see the value in it. We'll also circulate the contact details so you know how to get in touch afterwards. But it's been really interactive. Thanks also to Joe for answering the questions in the Q&A. It doesn't finish now. Obviously, we'll be about afterwards for any questions post-event, and we'll make sure that those details get fully circulated. Okay, so thanks for your time. Further information to follow. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.